A wee sweepstake running in this, so. So, you start now, sir?
Yeah.
I've got a few pounds in 7 minutes. 7 minutes, I'll try and keep it brief. 7 minutes brief, I hope so. Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and of course, Jamie and Tracy, not Lucy. As has been pointed out, I am the best man. My name is Duncan, my full name is Duncan, would you like a drink? So, the bar after, say that. I think we'll agree that Tracy looks one in a million today. Really stunning, the true English rose. And it's not easy being the supporting cast, but I think you'll agree that the bridesmaids did a fantastic job today. Yeah. So, round of applause for them as well, please. And at the end of my thank yous, I just want to thank big compliments to Michelle and Carol, who look stunning today. Again, like Jamie, I'm going to be referring to my notes a lot, so keep shouting at me, keep your head up, okay? Otherwise we'll push you. Jamie is also looking rather fetching today. If anyone's going to the airport on the way home tomorrow or the day after, then if you have a look at the shop, say these little tartan drummer dolls look a lot like him today. It is customary to fill a speech, a best man speech, with amusing anecdotes of the groom and his past. But there would be some incriminating pieces of information there about me and other people in the room. So I'm not going to go too far down that road. I was going to say I was hoping to make him sweat a little bit, but I'm doing enough of that for both of us right now. Jamie was born in Glasgow on the 14th of August 1974. I have known Jamie for the most recent 14 years, but this leaves many, many, many years in which he has been unknown to me. With the help of his mum and his sister, I now have some notes on his beginnings and a few anecdotes from his formative years. When Jamie was born, he had blonde, almost white hair, and it was generally remarked that he was a beautiful baby. From the day he was born, his eyes were wide open as he gawked around at everything, and as we can see today, the ones who've seen William, he looks exactly the same. He's a very inquisitive baby. And being inquisitive, wanting to know more and understand more, is a trait that I've recognised in Jamie the whole time I have known him. One day, when Emma was 5, she came home from school and asked her mum, "Where do babies come from?" Jamie rolled his eyes, tutted, then said, "You ordered them from the doctor, silly." This ability to speak with confidence and in a patronising manner, of which he has no knowledge, is another trait which I still recognise in him today. Now, some of you will be unaware that Jamie's maternal grandfather, George Clark, was a wrestler and was in the Guinness Book of World Records for tossing the cable. Which is interesting, as the last time we stayed with Jamie and Tracy, Jamie was running a bit late, doing his hair or faffing about as he does. And I'm sure I heard Tracy remark that he was also a world-class something. I didn't catch the last bit, but it seems that being world-class is in his genes. In high school, Jamie's school report put him down as a daydreamer, implying he sat and stared out of the window all day, much to the annoyance of his teachers. One particular teacher, chemistry I think it was, Dr. Ellis, a boy in academy, was so concerned about Jamie's forthcoming exam that he called Michelle in to the school to talk about it. The academic year was almost over and he'd only written on 2 pages of his jotter. Well, much to Dr. Ellis's surprise and Michelle and Jamie's delight, he got 99.9% in his exam. And Jamie said, "I told you I was listening, I just didn't see the need to write it all down." Now I'm thinking, yes, he's always been a smart arse. But what Emma has written is, he is the most intelligent guy I know. And I have to back him up on this. Because you only have to spend a few minutes with Jamie to realise there's a lot going on behind those eyes. A great intellectual work, seriously. This anecdote also highlights another of Jamie's great strengths. He really listens, genuinely. He's compassionate and he cares about other people and what they have to say. Couple this with his boyish enthusiasm and desire to learn, and he is the perfect listener, which will be good for his partnership, as Jamie has already mentioned. At school he wasn't interested in many sports, but he did like mountain biking and skiing. On one day he was out in Deeside on his mountain bike as a teenager, and he came a cropper, bouncing up in a curb and fracturing his skull. I think, Michelle, did you find him at the bottom of the path, leaning against the wall with blood pouring from his head?
Yeah, it's nice that.
Yeah. Emma has written, to this day we don't know how he managed to get himself and the bike home. But I think yeah, you always get a bike home. Two things that I think shed a light on how Jamie managed home. First of all, he's a determined person. He can take his time to make a decision, but once settled on a course, no pun intended about your university, 3 courses. First course was almost 3 years long. Yeah. But once he does settle on a course properly and persevere, he will keep going, even if it gets tough. Second thing, he's a stoic individual. He will not moan and complain if things don't go his way. If there's a bump in the road, literally or figuratively, he will, without fuss, pick himself up and get back on track. Now, a little bit of insight into Jamie's sense of humour can be gleaned from a Scottish wedding he attended with his American friends in America. Asked to help a couple of the guys get ready in their Highland outfits, he sent one to the ceremony with his kilt on backwards, on his bum, and another one sporting his sport as an over-the-shoulder. Now, there are many facts and stories from my time in Edinburgh with Jamie. His night jobs as a pizza delivery boy, bombing round Edinburgh in his red Seat Ibiza with a Michigan State Uni sticker on the back windscreen, and he was calling himself the Mac Daddy. And many stories that I could tell you. I found a lot of information out about Jamie on the stag do, and you should find members of the stag do around if you want to quiz them further. But I will not be going down that road any further. I do have some advice for Tracy and her family on dealing with Scots. First, we invented everything. Penicillin, the telephone, the television, Motown, the list goes on. Don't challenge us on this. Accept it and move on. Otherwise, you'll receive a tea towel listing our inventions for your next birthday or Christmas, whatever. Second, we like to drink. In other countries, where a person drinking a bottle of wine at night and 2 bottles on the weekend may be called an alcoholic, in Scotland, you're just classified as somebody who likes to drink. Thirdly, we are a very compassionate and caring people. Take an example of mental illness. People with mild mental illnesses, instead of going into sort of care, in Scotland we keep them in the society, but we call them people with a bit of character. Or rather, they are a bit of a character. So a word of caution to Tracy and her family. If Jamie introduces you to a friend, a family member, and describes him as a bit of a character who likes to drink, what he's really saying is, this is my mate Ian from Campbelltown. He's an alcoholic nutter. And just for your information, there's about 5 names I could have used. Fat Bob, for instance. When it comes to Tracy, the truth is, I don't know her as well as I should. On the few times we have met, she has shown herself to be a kind, intelligent, hard-working, obviously beautiful, and above all, patient woman. Like, if you know Jamie well, that would be very useful. But the fact is, I could be giving this speech today without ever having met Tracy, and I would know that she is a perfect girl for Jamie. Jamie is very much in love with Tracy, which means she must be a very special person indeed. And I would know, and I do know, as Jamie does, that he's a very lucky man to have him. I stand here as best man and commend Jamie to the Egan clan as a man who will look after your daughter and your grandson and be a son-in-law to be proud of. And I commend Tracy to Michelle, Emma, Mrs. Clark and the rest of the family as a brilliant mother and the new strong woman to look after you and me, Jamie. On a final note, I asked Jamie what he was looking for in marriage. He replied, I already have it, Tracy and William. When he asked Tracy the same question, she replied, a toaster.
Let's go.
I better finish up before it gets thrown at me. Joking aside, I join everyone in wishing you a happy and enduring marriage, and may your families be as one. On behalf of the bride and groom, I'd like to thank everyone for sharing this special day and for getting here, as everything's been said about the trouble with the weather and transport, so well done everybody for being here. Let's be upstanding as I toast the bride and groom. So the toast is to Jamie and Tracy, the new Mr. and Mrs. Hume, the bride and groom.